It's the Happy Families podcast. It's the podcast for the time-poor parent who just wants answers now.
Our kids are far more willing to do anything that we're asking them to do if we collaborate with them and work on it together.
And now here's the stars of our show, my mum and dad.
I'm not happy this morning. It's a Monday. I'm not happy. I'm not happy at all. This morning, I got swooped by the first magpie of the season.
I feel like there is a bird theme going on here.
I hate
just
magpies.
Don't like birds. Do you know we have a little, is it a peewee? What are those black and white birds?
A currawong? A magpie?
No, the currawong. He flies into my house.
Really?
I leave my back door open and he literally yesterday...
I love how you say he flies into my house, like it's our house.
I'm in the office and this is your space and that's my space.
Right.
But it so literally flew through the house, down the corridor, into the kitchen.
Every time a bird poops on my car, I eat a plate of wings on the back porch to show them what I'm capable of.
You're so unkind. Well, if that's what your morning was like, my morning was a little bit disoriented as well.
What else do you expect? What happened to you?
I drove here and I was trying to find where your car was so I could just associate myself with the fact that I'm here, and I couldn't find it anywhere. Only to realise that we'd swapped cars this morning and I was actually in your car and you didn't have my car because my car's being serviced.
You got out of my car and started looking around for me where my car was. That's so good. Oh dear. So I've dropped your car off. I've scooted into the office.
Been swooped by a magpie.
Meantime, you've shown up at the office looking for my car that you drove here in.
I don't know how this is going to go today.
Welcome to Monday.
Well, I hope the day gets better because you have a really big night tonight.
I'm really excited for our webinar. Tonight, the webinar is all about getting kids to listen. Why do our kids not listen to us? So we've got a webinar for, you can get it just by going to happyfamilies.com.au. Buy it now, it's $30. Or if you would like to become a Happy Families member, this is the best way to get our webinars. Every single month we do one just like this. It's $18 to be a premium member or $13 to be a Happy Families basic member. And once you're a member, you get a whole lot of stuff, including the monthly webinar. The webinar costs $30, but if you're a member, it's like $13 or $18. So happyfamilies.com.au, everything that you need to know about tonight is there, how to get your kids to listen, but we should give people a bit of a taste on what's going to happen. What do you reckon?
Well, no matter what age your kids are, this is a webinar that you just don't want to miss. And if anyone's equipped to help parents with this, I think it's you.
Because our kids listen to me so well.
No, but it is the very reason why I actually started listening to you. We had an experience with one of our kids way back in the early days. You've obviously shared multiple times that as a first-time dad and then even going into second-time dadhood, you weren't such a good dad. You weren't doing a great job.
Appreciate that.
And I wasn't taking advice from you ever, parenting-wise. And as you started on your journey of self-discovery and, I guess, betterment as a dad.
It wasn't so much self-discovery. I discovered that I was lousy and I needed to do something better. So I went and studied. But anyway, yes.
You would share stuff with me, but I was so kind of blinded by the fact that you were actually improving and learning that I didn't listen for many years. But one day we had baby number 3, she was a baby. Baby number 2 had spent pretty much the entire day screaming at my feet, just wanting something from me, and I didn't have the capacity or the know-how to give it to her. By the time you walked in the door, I was done, and I pretty much handed the kids to you and said, if I don't leave, I might do something I regret. Like I was pretty bad.
Yeah, my recollection is that I showed up at the house at about 8 o'clock at night. The kids' bedtime was between 6 and 6:30. And every light was on and it was noisy and the house was a shambles. I'd been working hard all day, slaving away, trying to, earn a degree or something like that. And when I walked in, you growled at me and said, your problem, not mine, and stormed out or something like that and went into the bedroom and locked the door and didn't want to have anything to do with me or the 3 kids from the second I walked into the door.
Yep, that's about right.
Actually, I didn't walk into the door, walked through the doorway, just for clarification.
But obviously you walked in, I walked out, and within seconds of you walking in, the house went quiet. And obviously I was keenly aware of that because that's all I had wanted all day was quiet. And I hadn't been able to get it. No matter what I said to my child, there just was no cooperation, nothing. I couldn't get her to go to sleep. I couldn't get her to eat. She just cried. And so by the time you walked in, everything went quiet, and I kind of put my ear up to the door to work out what's going on. When I couldn't hear anything, I actually just opened the door a little bit and had, kind of a look through the crack. And here you were down at our 2-year-old's eye level, and you literally looked at her and you said, "It looks like you've had a really hard day." She fell into your arms, and that was the end of the noise. It literally just stopped. And at that point, I realized that there was something that you knew that I didn't know, and I wanted to know more. And so from there, our journeys continued, and I think we do a pretty good job working as a team.
Yeah, I do too.
So I'm really excited about what you are going to share with everybody tonight. Assuming, knowing you the way I do, you don't have 2 or 3 points though, do you?
No. I have a lot more than that. And if you want your kids to listen to you, this is definitely going to be a webinar to tune into and be part of. Let me just make one point right at the outset though. If you have a child who is a chronic non-listener, my first piece of advice is always to rule out any medical issues. You can book in for your GP, you can do hearing tests and all that kind of thing. But sometimes it can be hard to book in to a doctor, and it seems like an expensive thing to do when you can do it much more cheaply. So if you just want to know if your kids can hear or not, I recommend standing at the doorway and then in a soft whisper just saying, "Who wants ice cream?" That should usually test their hearing just fine, or "Who wants $20?" or something like that.
You don't even have to say that. Usually in our house, it's just rustle the plastic of any lolly bag, and you can bet your bottom dollars they'll come running.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So once you know that you don't have any physiological hearing issues, I think we need to then rethink what we're saying about our kids not listening. Because our kids do listen, our kids can listen. Listening's not the problem. The real question is, why do our children not follow our instructions? That's what the webinar's really about. Because your kids can listen, your kids can hear. They know what you're saying, but they're choosing not to follow instructions. And there are so many reasons why. I mean, you think about it, when I ask you to do something, not that I do that very often, Kylie, of course, but if I were to ask you to do something, why might you not follow my instructions, or vice versa? Why do I not do what you want me to do sometimes?
Because I've got my own agenda. I've got my own task list of things that I want to do, and then you ask me to do something and it's not a high priority to me.
Yeah, and sometimes laying on the couch and flicking through a social media account or watching something on TV or reading is actually what my agenda is. Like, I just need to chill out for 15 minutes and have some downtime. And it's the same with the kids. They don't like being told what to do. They're hyper-focused on what they're doing right now. They sometimes have a preference to do anything other than what we're asking them to do. We might say, "Can you please do this?" And they're like, "Can I do anything else except that?" Sometimes it's too early in the day, sometimes it's too late in the day, sometimes they're hungry, sometimes they're full, sometimes they're tired, sometimes they're full of beans, sometimes it's the way that we've asked them. Like, there's all these reasons, so many reasons that they may not want to follow through and comply with what we're asking.
It feels like we're just set up to fail.
Yeah. But
with that massive list of what it could possibly be.
But there are things we can do, and after the break, let's explore some of those as a sort of a taster for what tonight's webinar is all about. Get curious, not furious. Be where your feet are. Mistakes lead to mastery. High emotions, low intelligence. Have you ever heard these or any of the other principles I share and thought, "I need to stick that on my wall"? Well, now you can. The Happy Families team has pulled out the best Justinisms for A5 mini posters. Perfect for your home or even the classroom, and easy to grab at happyfamilies.com.au.
It's the Happy Families podcast, the podcast for the time-poor parent who just wants answers now. Now, like I said, I know you've got a big long list that you're dying to share, and you're going to share that tonight.
Sure.
But I'm wondering, can you give us 2 or 3 tips on how we can help our children?
Yeah, what I'm going to do, I'll give you, I've got 3 layers of response, okay? So we've got basic ways that we can help our kids to hear us and follow our instructions. Then we've got some fancy answers, and then we've got some advanced answers. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you some basic answers first, okay? Keep it simple, get on your child's level, and get them to repeat it back to you. Really simple things. So when you say something to your child, when you convey an instruction, just keep it really simple. Don't ask them to do 8 things at once. Just, will you please put your shoes on? Will you please brush your teeth? Will you please bring your plate over from the table. Just one thing at a time. Keep it simple. Once they've done that, give them a hug, tell them you love them, and then ask them to do the next thing. Another one that you can do is get on their level, make eye contact, make sure that you're smiling, ensure that your child has heard you. And the best way to ensure that they've heard you is to get them to repeat it back to you. What did I just ask you to do? You didn't move, but I just asked you to do something. What was it? Hey, about 2 minutes ago, I asked you to do one little job and you're still sitting here. Did you hear me? Can you tell me what it was? So just really simple ideas. And I've got a handful of others, another 3 or 4 of those that we're going to talk about in the webinar tonight. The fancier answers, I'm going to suggest just one, although again, I've got like 5 or 6 slightly fancier answers. My favorite one is just consider their capability. So we expect too little of our children physically, and we expect too much of our children emotionally. Like if we're demanding that they calm down or that they stop it, sometimes at an emotional level, that's more than they can manage. But if we ask them to clear the table or hang up the towel or pick up their socks and put them in the laundry basket, that's typically not going to be too much, even for a young child. So we need to just consider their developmental capability, both emotionally and physically, before we issue our edicts to our children. But the advanced answers, these are the best ones. And I'm going to share one. I have 6 that I'm going to go through tonight, but I just want to share one right now. This one is my favorite one, and it's just to work on it together. So when we say to our little kids, hey, I want you to go and carry out this task, and we expect them to do it alone, that can feel both isolating, but it can also feel punishing. Like the kids feel like they've been sent to Siberia to do this horrible task. I know it's only in the next room, but we're separating them from everyone else.
Taking them away from us or the rest of the family.
Yeah, and they're having to do something that they're not motivated to do. There's no intrinsic desire on their part to tidy up, pick up, clean up, or whatever. And quite often, the task feels overwhelming, especially for little kids, but even for big kids. I mean, the other night I asked the kids one of our big kids to help out in the kitchen, and she lost it. She was like, but I've already done this and I've already done that and I'm exhausted and I've been at work all day and blah, blah, blah. Like she really gave me a hard time, and I just put my hands up in the air and said, it's okay. It's all right. I'm sorry, but I'm going to be in there and I'm going to be doing it. So if you feel like you can help, any help would be great. And then I walked into the kitchen and started on it, and about 30 seconds later, she walked into the kitchen and said, sorry, I'm happy to help you. And we got to have a great chat about her day. But it was about the working on it together process, because our kids want to be in our world. They love spending time with us. And when we say, let's do this thing together, we create connection, we create respect, we create shared moments, we get to have conversations. It can become a meaningful highlight to the day, whether it's, I don't know, cleaning the bedroom or doing the dishes or washing the car. Our kids are far more willing to do anything that we're asking them to do if we collaborate with them and work on it together. And what I've also found, I don't know if you've noticed this as well, but you often find that you don't have to do so much when you're working together. Like sometimes just being there and talking and offering some gentle guidance. I've said this to the kids hundreds of times over the years. What are the first 3 things that you want to pick up in the bedroom here? I don't actually pick anything up. I just sit with them while they're doing it and guide them through the process. And it's extraordinary for getting stuff done. So we're going to explore a handful of really advanced ideas like that to help get stuff done around the house, to help get the kids to listen and have a desire to comply.
It's so funny, as you shared that last example, I think about even now as an adult, when I've got a massive task in front of me and I just don't know where to start, so often I just want you in my space. Or a girlfriend will say, well, how can I help? And I'm like, can you just come and chat with me?
Yeah.
Can you just be in my space? I don't need your help. I need something else to kind of take away the enormity of the task in front of me, to take away that focus. And then all of a sudden the job becomes so much easier.
I had an experience with our youngest, Emily, just about a week and a half ago. And I think it really captures the essence of what I want to share in tonight's webinar about getting your kids to listen. So you know how I feel about cold weather. Like I wear layer upon layer upon layer.
Yeah, the kids are still waiting to build a snowman.
We've never been to the snow. I live for the endless summer. I just love the warmth. I hate it when it's cold and you touch my skin with your freezing cold fingers. I hate it when it's cold and I try to play the piano and my fingers are frozen and they won't move properly. I just don't like the cold. So with that as some background information, a couple of weeks ago, Emily skipped out the door to go and play with her friends up the street, and she left the front door open. She leaves the front door open 100% of the time she walks out the door. And so I called out to her, Emily, you need to close the door. Close the door, please, Emily. Emily, close the door. And she's sprinting away. She heard me, but she ignored me. She purposefully chose to keep on skipping towards a scooter with literally not a shred of intention of turning around and shutting the door. And so in spite of how cold it was, I felt my temperature rise and ran to the door and called out to her again, Emily, I asked you to do something. Now come back here and close the door. And she's gone. She's out the gate. She's scootering up the street while I'm calling across the curb to her on her scooter. And so I've got this list of 20 different ways to get the kids to listen. And you know what I did when she chose to not respond to my request that she come back and close the door?
I'm going to guess that you closed the door.
Yeah, I just laughed to myself. I loved that she was going to play with her friends, and I realised I was standing right next to the door while insisting that she come back and close the door. So I closed the door and went back inside. It really wasn't such a big deal.
So while I love that example, I'm sure that there are parents out there going, but this happens all the time, and it's not just about closing the door. They leave their school bag right at the front door and everybody trips over it. Yes. Or, they don't bring their plate up from the kitchen table. I'm not their slave.
No, you're not.
So who's going to do it if I don't do it?
Well, I reckon I've given enough hints, tips and ideas and shared enough heart in this podcast to be helpful. And I think
you're not going to fix it now.
And I think that the things that I've shared can be useful even with that question you've asked. But if people want more info, tonight the webinar happens at 8 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time about getting your kids to actually listen. Please find more information about it on our Facebook page, Dr. Justin Coulson's Happy Families, or at the website happyfamilies.com.au.
I reckon it might even help with husbands.
The Happy Families podcast is produced by Justin Rulon from Bridge Media. Craig Bruce is our executive producer. And for more info about making your family happier, join us for the webinar tonight. Please become a Happy Families member, where you can get access to all of these resources on a month-to-month basis to make your family happier. And visit us at happyfamilies.com.au.